on everybody, Ryan F. Entertainment back for another brand new video. This time we are going to be reacting to the 10 most shocking WWE SummerSlam moments of all time. Of course, it's by What Culture Wrestling. If you're a wrestling fan and you don't know who they are, then I don't know what you're really doing with your life. Anyway, this is over a year, well, I guess not over a year old. Wait, what's today? It's like the 11th, I think. This is not even over a year old yet. It came out last August. So, but yeah, it's SummerSlam season, and I just wanted to get a little bit in the mood to watch some SummerSlam history. So let's get into it. 10 most shocking SummerSlam moments. Here we go. 3, 2, 1. Let's get it.
It's easy to often view SummerSlam as the red-headed stepchild of WWE's Big Four pay-per-views. Unlike the Royal Rumble or Survivor Series, it doesn't have a dedicated stipulation or theme other than, hey, it's wrestling in the summer, it's summertime, and we're wrestling as well. Look at us in summer, and obviously WrestleMania speaks for itself. So what sets SummerSlam apart? Well, there are often several significant and sometimes shocking moments that happen at this pay-per-view. I'm Jack from WhatCulture.com, and here are the 10 most shocking SummerSlam moments of all time. Number 10, Miss Elizabeth tears her dress. Now, looking back on it, Miss Elizabeth's crucial distraction in the main event of SummerSlam 1988 isn't all that shocking. We've since lived through years of over-sexualized women in wrestling. We've had, bra and panties matches, we've had diva searches, we've had, where they wrestle in mud or pudding or gravy. It's just... luckily, women's wrestling is now on the up and up, but back then, Miss Elizabeth's distraction was probably seen as very shocking indeed. The sight of the usually demure Elizabeth tearing off the lower half of her dress completely distracted the team of the Mega Bucks, that's Ted DiBiase and Andre the Giant. It also distracted the corrupt referee Jesse Ventura, and Randy Savage and Hulk Hogan took full advantage. Now, fans of the Eurovision Song Contest will probably accuse Elizabeth of gimmick infringement because, as we all know, Bucks Fizz did exactly the same thing some 7 years prior. Absolutely shocking, WWE. How dare you rip off Bucks Fizz like that? They're a national treasure. Number 9, the Summer of Punk comes to a sad end. The Summer of Punk was one of the most exciting times in recent WWE history, and the angle which lured many lapsed fans back to wrestling, including myself. Punk's feud with John Cena was an absolute masterstroke in blurring the traditional heel and babyface dynamic. It also established the Chicago native as the voice of the voiceless, or the voice of the disillusioned masses who were sick of WWE's stagnant, Cena-centric direction. Now, Money in the Bank obviously represented the peak of that storyline, but SummerSlam 2011 was the beginning of the end. Having dubiously fended off Cena in a controversial rematch with Triple H there as the bungling, comedic special guest referee, he was useless. Punk was jumped by none other than Kevin Nash. Although he'd returned earlier in the year at the Royal Rumble as Diesel, Nash hadn't been a consistent part of the WWE roster since mid-2003. To say he was irrelevant would be an understatement, especially next to the new and cutting-edge Punk. Punk may as well have been jumped by, Gilbert, or maybe the Yeti. Can't make the Yeti joke too many times, it's getting a bit old now, isn't it? I'll do it anyway. He might as well have been jumped by Gilbert or the Yeti. Nash's attack allowed for Alberto Del Rio to cash in his Money in the Bank contract, and it robbed one of the hottest angles in years of nearly all its momentum. The amount of potential WWE wasted in a single moment was almost impressive. Number 8, Paul Bearer turns on The Undertaker. Going into SummerSlam 96, all signs seemed to point to the dead man defeating Mankind. Mick Foley had triumphed in their bout at King of the Ring, but it seemed only a matter of time until the Phenom got his win back. However, it wasn't going to be a straightforward task for The Undertaker because he'd have to defeat Mankind in a boiler room brawl. That's Mankind's specialty match, because he lived in the boiler room. The first man to escape the boiler room and get to ringside and take the urn from Paul Bearer would be the winner of the match. It was much his specialty match in the way that the Buried Alive match is Undertaker's specialty match, because I don't know if you've noticed this, Undertaker always loses Buried Alive matches. I mean, sometimes he actually, he wins it technically, but he always ends up the one in the ground. Maybe pick a different match, Undertaker. It's just a thought. However, Mankind bucked the WWE trend and actually won his own specialty match, but he didn't do it because of his own ability. He did it because of the dastardly ways of Paulie B, Paul Bearer. Paulie B. What have I done? Undertaker reached the centre of the ring first, with Mankind taking a horrendous bump on the outside onto the exposed concrete floor, but Bearer refused to hand the urn over. This allowed Mankind to recover, slap on the mandible claw, weaken the dead man, and then Bearer smashed the urn over his protege's head. It was a genuinely shocking moment and certainly deserves its place on this list. Number 7, and this one comes from SummerSlam 2010. This is Team WWE, the Nexus. Now, the Nexus v Team John Cena, Team Team WWE at SummerSlam 2010 was shocking for two reasons. Firstly, it saw the return of Daniel Bryan. Now, Bryan had been harshly released following his strangling of Justin Roberts with his own necktie. It caused a bit of a furore with the sponsors. WWE released him temporarily, but then they brought him back as part of Team John Cena, Team WWE, for this match. It can be seen as Bryan's rebirth. It was the first time he really broke free of the shackles that had been previously imposed on him by WWE. Shackles which included embarking upon a losing streak, the worst of all storylines for any up-and-coming babyface, and it allowed him to prove himself to Michael Cole, who had belittled him consistently since he first started. Now we come on to the second reason the match was shocking, because not only did we see the return of Daniel Bryan, we also saw a massive push for Wade Barrett and Justin Gabriel, the two remaining members of Team Nexus, who, defeated many established WWE stars en route to a startling victory which really transformed their careers. I'm obviously joking. John Cena beat both of them easily by himself. This is now looked back upon as one of the most shocking SummerSlam moments ever, because it really was a waste of an opportunity to get two of the most promising new stars over. Instead, John Cena decided, no, I'm John Cena, and I'm gonna, be the strongest man in the universe, and I'm gonna win! And it was a bad mistake. Number 6, the Honky Tonk Man's Intercontinental Championship reign finally comes to an end. Now, we've already mentioned SummerSlam 88 once because of Miss Elizabeth's legs and bottom. However, this moment took place earlier in the card and can arguably be seen as an even more shocking moment. Honky Tonk Man's record Intercontinental Championship reign is the stuff of WWE legend. The dastardly heel held onto his belt for a mammoth 64 weeks, but lost it in the most unceremonious manner imaginable at SummerSlam. The scheduled challenger was Brutus Beefcake, but he was unable to compete. Honky Tonk Man angrily took to the ring, grabbed the microphone, and demanded that the new challenger come out, whoever he may be. I can be anyone, he said. And then the Ultimate Warrior's music hit. Now, if you've seen any Ultimate Warrior footage ever in your life, you'll probably know how this match went. Warrior sprinted down to the ring, wasted very little time hitting his limited offense, and defeated the Honky Tonk Man, ending one of the most historic reigns in WWE history in just 31 seconds. And sure, yes, this popped the live crowd and it was a memorable moment, but it must surely be seen as an ill-fitting end to one of the most iconic reigns in the history of the promotion. Number 5, Shane McMahon's fall. Now, by this stage, we're used to seeing Shane McMahon do ridiculous things in the name of wrestling. Never want to take the easy road, Vince's eldest child proved his commitment at SummerSlam 2000 in the most ultimate way imaginable. In a hardcore championship match, never a smart move, against the Lethal Weapon Steve Blackman, never a smart move, Shane made the rather questionable decision to run from his opponent by climbing the side of the Titantron. Never a smart move. Of course, Steve Blackman's the best man in the world, and he's absolutely fearless, at least in my opinion, and he duly followed and he swatted Shane off the side of the structure with a kendo stick like some kind of annoying insect man. You can't see me right now, but I'm swinging my arm like Blackman did because I wish I was him. Shane McMahon, let's not forget the boss's son, plummeted onto a neatly disguised crash mat, but it was still a terrifying fall, and Blackman duly followed with a hellacious elbow drop, thankfully made the pinfall, and Shane lost the match, but won our hearts and our respect, and isn't that the most important thing of all? And of course, this was the end of Shane's death-defying run in WWE. He never did anything quite as crazy ever again. No, I'm wrong. 16 years later, he jumped off the Hell in a Cell structure onto the Undertaker, who moved and crashed through the announce table. Shane, have you got some sort of death wish? Please stop doing this to yourself. Yes, it's awesome. God, we don't want you to die. Number 4, Randall Orton cashes in his Money in the Bank contract at SummerSlam 2013. Now, this pay-per-view seemed to be the climactic scene of Daniel Bryan's triumph. The underdog had built a huge head of steam, with most fans desperate to see the former indie darling finally capture the big one, the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Sure enough, he defeated John Cena, clean as a whistle, you need him in the face, and hoisted the belt aloft. It was a happy, feel-good moment through and through. Well, then, special guest referee Triple H, he loves being a special guest referee at SummerSlam. It's his favourite hobby ever. He shockingly booted Bryan in the gut, dropped him with a pedigree, and turned to the entrance ramp where Randy Orton was waiting, Money in the Bank briefcase in hand. This was absolutely devastating. Not only was it a shocking turn because Triple H had been a face up until that point, it also symbolised the delay of Bryan's triumph. And looking back, it was a booking masterstroke because it made his eventual win at WrestleMania 30 all the more emotional and cathartic. Cathartic.
That would be good if that's what they actually
It made it more of an emotional release. I'm supposed to be an English graduate and I can't pronounce the word cathartic. I think it's cathartic. Google catharsis and you'll see what I mean. Number 3, Shawn Michaels mocks Hulk Hogan. Now, few wrestling bouts truly deserve the billing of a dream match, but Hulk Hogan v Shawn Michaels was certainly worthy of such an accolade, or at least it should have been. The original plan was actually to have 2 matches, with each man taking 1 win in either, only for Hulk Hogan to nix those plans and say, no, we'll have 1 match and I'll win it because I am the best wrestler ever. I know what you're thinking as well. Hulk Hogan being selfish, I'm as shocked as you. Understandably furious because, as we all know, he's one of the best ever, Shawn Michaels proceeded to utterly take the piss throughout their bout, overselling everything in ludicrous fashion. He was bumping to the outside for, 1 punch in the face. He was throwing himself over turnbuckles. He took a big boot, got to his feet, ran around the ring in a circle, fell back down and took the leg drop. That was the end of the match. It was utterly ludicrous. If you haven't seen this match, it's really worth checking out just to see how far HBK takes his mockery, and it proves that sometimes being unprofessional can be hilarious as well. And I'd just like to say to whoever's editing this video, please don't do anything unprofessional here. It won't be as funny. Number 2, Brock Lesnar destroys John Cena. This is the most recent moment on the list and certainly one of the most shocking. John Cena v Brock Lesnar at SummerSlam 2014 saw the unthinkable happen. It wasn't so much the fact that Cena lost. Cena's actually lost a lot more than we give him credit for over the years, but it's the manner in which he lost. Lesnar utterly dominated the company man from pillar to post in a way we've never quite seen before or since. In decimating Cena and taking his title, Lesnar completed perhaps the most astonishing 1-2 punch in WWE history, having snapped the Undertaker streak just a few months prior. I think the moral of the story is Brock Lesnar's a very big man. Don't challenge him, especially if you're putting your championship on the line. And number 1, Owen Hart accidentally breaks Steve Austin's neck at SummerSlam 1997. In terms of landmark moments in the career of an all-time great, Steve Austin's sickening injury at SummerSlam 97 can probably be regarded as the most shocking incident in the storied history of the pay-per-view. It led to Austin being regarded as a legit badass and perfectly bridged the gap between his face turn at WrestleMania early that year and his push to main event megastardom in that infamous feud with Vince McMahon. A botched tombstone sit-out piledriver saw Stone Cold dropped directly onto his head by Owen, resulting in a legitimate broken neck and also temporary paralysis. Now, under normal circumstances, the match would have been improvised. Owen would probably have made an immediate cover, won the match, and retained his Intercontinental Championship. There's just one problem there, and that was the match's stipulation. The stipulation dictated that had Austin lost the match, he would have to kiss Owen's bottom. He'd have to pucker up and kiss Owen's, his backside. Who made that stipulation? Was it WhatCulture.com by any chance? Because is it just me, or are the Adams getting a little bit too friendly with each other's anatomies in these forfeits? Thinking fast, Owen tentatively manoeuvred Austin into position where he was able to execute an admittedly dodgy roll-up, but we can forgive him for that because he had a broken neck. Austin made the cover, the referee counted the 3. Everything kind of went the way it should have, but Austin was then forced to vacate the title while he recovered. Sadly, Owen never really apologised to Austin, and there was some heat between them before Owen's tragic death a little while later. In terms of Austin's career, it really proved him to be the badass that we all know him as these days, and added an extra depth and an extra heroic quality to his character as well. And for those reasons, it is certainly the most shocking moment in SummerSlam history. So that's all we've got time for. This has been the top 10 most shocking moments in SummerSlam history. I've been Jack from WhatCulture.com. Please do follow me on Twitter at Jack_the_jobber. I hope you've enjoyed this list, and I hope you respect my decision to only make 1 joke about the Yeti. Well, 2 now. I'm very sorry.
I mean, that was a pretty good list. I mean, it definitely did end on a sour note. Like, really? Austin breaking his neck? But, I mean, it probably was pretty shocking at the time. I don't know. I wasn't even alive when it happened, so. But, yeah, some of those I do remember. Like, when Daniel got cashed in on by Randy and Triple H turned on him. I think that's what it should have been. Triple H turning on him more. That was the shocking part. And then basically the whole Authority forming and then being the most boring freaking thing ever for, like, 3 years on TV. Oh, anyway, and what were some of the other ones? Punk getting cashed in on by Del Rio was so dumb. Brock Lesnar absolutely freaking prison raping John Cena. Good stuff. Yeah, and then if you've never seen the Shawn Michaels Hulk Hogan match from that SummerSlam where he completely oversells every goddamn move, it is one of the funniest things you'll ever see in a wrestling ring. And that is going to do it for this video. Thank you everybody so much for watching. If you enjoyed, as always, make sure you absolutely wreck that like and subscribe button. I hope you guys all did enjoy. See you guys next time. Peace out, everybody.